Next up, we have another character from the Ant-Man DLC pack. In fact, this guy here was one of the 2 characters you actually play as in the DLC level. He also happens to be a fan favorite from the 2015 movie. It's Luis, Scott's lovable friend. I say lovable with quotations around it. This guy has only one ability on his belt, and it's one he shouldn't even have in the first place. Luis is disguised as a SHIELD agent, or worker, so he has SHIELD access. So he can interact with SHIELD terminals, and you have to do that a few times in the Ant-Man level. Luis also has a gun, which is nice. I find guns to be a little underrated in this game. There are a lot of characters with projectiles, whether it be guns or elemental projectiles. Call me crazy, but I like the simplicity of just a simple gun, because it does what it needs to. The elemental projectiles that characters can have are slow, and they're just usually all the same, just with a color change. But I mean, this gun isn't really simple. It's one of those trademarked Lego superheroes guns, because they can't be too realistic. In any case, Luis is just Agent Williams, but an actual character, and I guess likable to a fault, though, because Michael Pena has been in too many things for him not to be a bit overrated at this point. Another minorly important MCU character, we got Erik Selvig. Weirdly enough, this dude has 2 variants for some reason. On top of that, you unlock both variants in the story mode of the same level, which is the Thor 2 level called Lost in the Aether. This is the untidy version of Erik Selvig. As you can see, he's pretty untidy at this current point in time, if you can believe it. Both Erik Selvigs are the exact same ability-wise, which comes as no surprise to anyone, I would hope. The one ability both Erik Selvigs have is technology. The technology ability is new to the series, and I think to the channel too, at least this kind of technology. It's just a terminal, and those with the technology ability can interact with it. Sometimes something happens automatically, or the game can make you do a little mini game or make you mash X. I don't know, it's always different, but it's mostly, just quick time events. I placed the untidy Erik Selvig as the lesser of the 2 Selvig variants because, frankly, untidy people, I'm just not with it. Like I said, I prefer people who are tidy most of the time, so it's only natural that the standard Erik Selvig is placed higher. Like I said in the last segment, Erik Selvig has technology as his only ability and is also unlocked in the level for Thor the Dark World. And I mean, that's it. Erik Selvig has not been relevant in the MCU since the second Thor movie, and that movie is pretty hated. Perhaps they blamed Erik Selvig for Thor the Dark World's criticism and opted to remove him from the MCU entirely. I don't know. According to MCU Wiki, Erik Selvig was snapped, as in he was part of the half of the population that, it just disintegrated. But as far as that goes, nothing. Wait, scratch that. In Spider-Man Far From Home, it shows that he has a documentary out with his face on the poster for it. Okay, you got me. But regardless, the dude isn't relevant in the MCU anymore. Not that I'd expect him to be. It's just something to note. We were on a 3-character streak for characters that are actually in the MCU, so, we had to rectify that with another character no one knows. If you're going to go down to the comments right now and say, actually, some people know him, shut up. I know, okay? But it's gotten to the point that the MCU is so successful that not being in the MCU makes you irrelevant, much like this guy. When I searched him up on the Marvel Wiki, 2 different guys came up. First is this reserved actual Gargoyle by the name of Isaac Christians, and then there's this guy, very much not an actual Gargoyle, and the one that's in this game. This Gargoyle's name is Yuri Topolov, and he's apparently a super genius. Naturally, this guy's only ability is technology, much like Erik Selvig. I place this guy above the Erik Selvigs because Selvig is just a guy. And this guy is... I don't even know what to describe him, but it wouldn't be Gargoyle. I call him a gremlin over a gargoyle, but I guess we're arguing semantics here. After that, look at me, I'm not in the MCU palette cleanser. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled program of actual MCU characters. This one's another fan favorite, Jon Favreau. Happy Hogan. This dude went from being just some side character from Iron Man that conveniently directed 2 of the 3 films in his trilogy to a pretty cool character that has a cool dynamic with Spider-Man in the later portion of the MCU. just my opinion. Happy Hogan, like the other characters in this part of the list, has only one ability, and this one's pretty useful. It's called Scan. Basically, if you see particles in the air, those with the Scan ability can interact with them and make whatever it is that is hiding there appear. It's used quite a bit in this game. Some characters have an intuition and do it, but most characters, including Happy Hogan here, pull out a little device. The Scan ability houses a little minigame for those with the device, and it's always the same. There's a grid and 4 blinks on the plane somewhere, and you just click where the blinks happen in order of where they blinked, and whatever's hiding will appear. There you go. Yes, another DLC character is presented in this segment from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. DLC pack. This is Lincoln, Skye's boyfriend for a season, I think. He ended up dying. Spoilers, but I mean, it was inevitable for him to die, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I saw it coming a mile away. Anywho, in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. DLC level, Lincoln was a bad guy of sorts. When this DLC was released, it was around Season 2 of the show, and at this time, Skye was indoctrinated in the secret Inhuman community in China with her mother. So for the first half of the level, you're in China dealing with Lincoln. I would say fighting him, but you aren't fighting him. You're saving random people to be able to get where he is and punch him in the head once. Not a boss fight by any means, but you know, it's technically one, I guess. Lincoln's only ability is electricity, which coincides with the show. There are electricity terminals all over the levels and open world designed for a certain famous Avenger with a very similar power that will stay unnamed. Not that I've named him already in this part so far, but you know, those with the electricity ability can power up these terminals and make stuff happen. What is this dude even? Like Beta Malekith? Why does he look so weird? I mean, Dark Elves look weird, period, but this dude's eyes are too beady and too close together. Also, these guys are relentless in the Lost in the Aether level. They really just don't stop coming. You fight so many of these guys, but none of them showcase the Dark Elf's only ability, Explosive. We've seen the Explosive ability several times on this channel before, and it's a staple of LEGO games at this point. Those with the Explosive ability can blow up silver objects, as we all should know by now. The existence of the Dark Elf as a playable character in this game further perplexes me. Mostly the fact that a standard Chitauri character isn't playable. But this guy is, but I'm still not over the Chitauri thing. And I definitely don't want to play as a Chitauri. Let's just get that out there. It's not that I want to play as a Chitauri. It's just weird that he's not a playable character. But like this tourist version of him is. I don't know. Here's another one of Thor's trusty battle-experienced friends who also immediately die to the hands of Hela like Fandral.
Who are you? What have you done with Thor?
Though, unlike Fandral, his single ability is pretty useful. Fandral has agility, which it's something, but so many characters have it. Volstagg here has the cracked wall ability. We've seen this kind of thing before in other LEGO games. Basically, there are these walls with glowy cracks in them, and those with the cracked wall ability, like Volstagg, can break them. In other LEGO games, where we've seen this, like LEGO Incredibles for example, the cracked wall is lumped in with the strength ability, but in this game, being able to break cracked walls does not guarantee you the strength ability, which is something else altogether, and Volstagg here is an example of a character who can break cracked walls, but he doesn't have super strength. We'll come across more examples of this as we go along. It's a weird situation, for sure.
I'm Hela.
Heimdall, man, what a guy. Rip to him in the MCU, by the way, but it looks like he's doing pretty well for himself over in the DC universe. Heimdall, like Volstagg, only has the cracked wall ability. The reason for me placing Heimdall over Volstagg should be obvious, though. Heimdall looks so much cooler. When two characters have the same exact abilities, I tend to just rank my personal favorite of the two as the top. I mean, it's just business, you understand. It's pretty unlucky for Heimdall regarding the snap, though. Like, if he held out for just a few more days, he had a 50-50 chance of being snapped, in which case he'd be brought back 5 years later. I get that there wasn't much he could have done when he died since Thanos literally curb stomped him, but if he somehow hitched that Bifrost beam with Hulk to Earth, we would probably still have Heimdall with us to this day. Here's probably the most controversial character in the MCU up until recently. People mostly hated him because they expected a comic-accurate Mandarin and instead got Ben Kingsley, goofing around. However, his recent appearance in Shang-Chi upped people's opinions on him since he did do more for the Shang-Chi movie than, say, Awkwafina, and it did make sense for him to be there, seeing as he was pretending to be the Mandarin. Speaking of that guy, not Mandarin, his son, I'm very surprised Shang-Chi didn't end up in this game at all. As far as the MCU, at the time this game's released, Shang-Chi was one of the biggest characters to never make an appearance. And considering the amount of D-list characters in this game, you would expect Shang-Chi would at least be there. Well, at least he's in the MCU now and will probably play a big role. Anyway, yeah, Trevor Slattery in this game. He's quite unique, unsurprisingly. You can aim soccer balls to hit things in front of you or afar. His one ability is the glass ability, which is something you don't see often. Basically, you see these glowing, transparent blue bricks, and characters with the glass ability can break them in some way. In Trevor's case, he pulls out a little party popper thing, and it breaks the glass. It's unique, like I said.